Good evening, everybody. For those watching live, I hope you've had a wonderful bank holiday weekend in this glorious sunshine here. Always talking about the weather, I know, but it makes such a difference, doesn't it, to our health and our well-being generally. Just makes us feel so much better when we get a bit of sunshine during the day, and I love the warmth. Some people start complaining about the heat. I never complain about the heat. I like the warmth. I think I'm a bit of a lizard at heart, really. So great if you can join me live tonight, and lovely if you're watching on Catch Up or on Facebook or as a podcast, whichever way you're watching this. I hope you enjoy what I'm going to talk about tonight, which is to talk about movement. I've been doing some research, I've read about it before, about movement, because we all get hung up about exercising. And I'm a member of David Lloyd, I might have mentioned it before. I like to go and do different classes. But people are often sort of killing themselves doing really intensive exercise, and people do it for different reasons, I know, but the expectation is that it's the exercise that is going to contribute to your health and well-being and longevity and lowering your risk of cardiovascular disease and weight loss. But actually there's more and more evidence pointing to the fact that it's not the exercise that's going to deliver those results for you. It's all about movement. So I've been doing some research around this to bring you tonight, and first of all, to say that weight loss and exercise, it is a myth. I've known this for a long time, that weight loss is 90% about what you're going to be eating, and it's your good nutrition, and 10% is related generally to the exercise. I do agree that it will lift your mood. A lot of people do it because they say that you get such a buzz from the exercise. It makes them feel great, and I don't disagree with that. But this growing body of evidence around movement, we just can't ignore what the evidence is telling us. And it's because our body is designed to be moving on a regular basis. We're not designed to be sedentary and sitting still. But the typical adult is now spending 10 hours a day sitting. Whatever that may be, we are sitting for extended periods of times, and I think that's just got worse in the past year with all the lockdowns that have happened through no fault of our own, that we're just sitting. And the more of the digital age we're moving into, we're sitting more and more and more. But the question is, can 1 hour of moderate to intensive exercise overcome 10 hours of sitting? And the answer is no, and more research is saying no, that's just not the case at all. So I believe there is a role for the conventional exercise. I love doing it myself. I love to vary it, and I think that's really important, and it's another talk in its own right. I like to do a little bit of HIIT. I like to do absolutely love my yoga. I do more and more of that all the time now. I like to do a bit of running. I love to do my strength type exercises. And I have a horse as well. So I do little bits of different things. I wouldn't say I do really intensive type cardio exercise, but I like to incorporate all these different things. But I'm very much aware now that I need to be moving more, and I can't just rely on my exercises and just be sitting on my backside. Now, certainly counting steps is really important, and I know myself that if I'm on an office day, I'm not moving nearly enough, and I need to address that. So certainly counting your 10,000 steps is one way to do that. But rather than doing it all in one go, and yeah, fine if you can do 10,000 steps in one go, but we need to be adding more throughout the day as well. So what happens when we're sitting down for extended periods of time? This is all to do with our glucose sensitivity, our glucose tolerance, our metabolic profile. And when we're sitting for long periods of time, what happens is it sort of partially impairs the glucose uptake into cells. We get less sensitive to the insulin triggers, and we end up potentially with more glucose circulating in the bloodstream. We may end up with more insulin, and the glucose increase is not good for our health. We could end up with weight gain. It could lead more towards type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, stroke, all those types of things, all those things that I factored together under what we call metabolic diseases, the very big impact on health today is around metabolic disease. So inactivity has been shown to increase your risk of heart disease, stroke and diabetes. So what do we need to do about it? It's all to do with the greater number of breaks from being sedentary. We've got to get up from our backsides and to get moving. That doesn't mean high intensity exercise. It may just mean standing. So we need to be up, standing or moving around and stretching and doing something to get the blood flowing, and this in turn does help to support glucose utilization, supports the processing of triglycerides. These triglycerides can become quite dangerous fats if they're too high, and the overall management of cholesterol as well when we just get up and keep moving throughout the day. So it's about having short breaks and just getting moving. So other consequences of long-term sitting and being sedentary: it slows blood flow. So blood flow can be impaired. This can affect our oxygen flow. It can affect our nutrient supply to our cells. It slows the supply of fresh oxygen to our brain, so it can impair our mental clarity. And I think we all know how much better we feel if we just get outside in fresh air and having a walk. We can feel so much better for doing that. It impairs lymph flow. We need to be moving to encourage lymph to flow around the body. That is definitely a fact. And impaired lymph flow can mean it can impair drainage of toxins from our cells. So we could have more toxicity in the body, which is certainly not conducive for good health. Muscles will burn less glucose if we're not being active, and that can contribute to weight gain. And as I said, cells can become less receptive and responsive to glucose, which can lead to more insulin circulating in the bloodstream, because the body will release more insulin if glucose remains high in the bloodstream. And long-term consequences of that can be insulin resistance, and of course, leading on from that could be diabetes. Sitting can make our digestion more sluggish, so don't sit down soon after eating. Just, I'm not talking about intensive exercise, because we certainly don't want to do that. But, spend a bit of time washing up, maybe doing a little bit of tidying up, just doing something before we immediately go and sit down again after eating our meals. And of course, we do know that if we're slumped at a desk, and particularly those that are working over a laptop, I do not do that. You can probably see behind me, I've got a separate screen and a keyboard, and I'm very conscious of how I sit at my desk during the day. But a lot of people particularly get quite slumped over their keyboard. We get rounded shoulders. We can get, the neck gets all out of alignment. This can impair nerve supply if our neck gets in the wrong position, and we can get neck strain and shoulder aches, and long term we can get backache, and it can also affect our hips as well, because just think about that sitting position is not good for our hips either. So all of this, from a posture point of view, is really poor. So what do we need to do? This is not about being active all day long. It's about having small breaks. So I've come up with a list of things that we can think about incorporating. Little changes. This is all about making small changes, and lots of small changes lead to bigger changes and bigger habits. So it's all those sort of small marginal gains lead to something much bigger overall. And I've come up with a list, and you can take a note of these. You can add some ideas of your own that you can incorporate. And as you need to be a little bit organized, and you need to start thinking, what one thing could you do each day to try and get more movement into your day-to-day life every single day. So first of all, we need to be up standing every hour as a minimum. Set your timer on your phone, and just think about how often you can get up. Now, if you've got a long meeting, that's going to be difficult. But this is where a standing desk can make all the difference. This is my priority. I've been talking about this for a long time, and I've done nothing about it. And I know I spend too much time sitting. So standing desks, ideally, if you can invest in one that raises up and then it drops down again. I've seen these things advertised where you can certainly have a little stand. And certainly if you can create a stand that enables you to be able to stand up and work at your laptop or your keyboard so that you're not sitting down all the time, or have spells where you don't need to be doing computer work and maybe you need to be doing some writing, making some phone calls, and you could do that standing up. So we need to at least get up and stand. Even the standing alone, it doesn't always have to be moving, but the standing has a positive impact on that glucose sensitivity that I talked about with the cells. So investing in a standing desk is certainly my number one priority. You know, when you're going out and about, do you need to use the car? Can you walk? Can you build in a little bit of extra time to enable you to walk rather than take the car out? Use the stairs more often. I have a downstairs toilet, but I've started to think I'm going to get up, I'm going to walk upstairs, at least get me moving a bit more, walk up the stairs and use the upstairs toilet rather than just going to the downstairs one. If you're out and about, when I used to work in an office, I didn't use the lift. Now, it depends what floor you're on, but at least you could get off a floor before, but use the stairs rather than a lift. If you're in shopping centres or on the underground, I always used to walk up the escalators, even really from the depths of the underground. Some of those escalators are very long. Walk up them. Don't just stand on them. Get moving and walk on them. Again, like if you use the bus, then think about getting off a stop early or 2 stops early. What about going for a walk before or after work or at lunchtime, or getting up and walking around the garden? Now it's summer, and when it's lighter, we can certainly incorporate that into our day at the moment, because we've got no excuse about the darkness, and certainly at the moment, no excuse about the rain. But I think we should ignore the rain in this country and invest in good outdoor gear so we can get outside. Now, if you're the sort of person who likes reading and you finish work and you think about sitting down and reading, what about buying an audiobook? And so you get the audiobook, and instead of switching off and sitting down and reading, get outside, start walking and listen to your audiobook instead. Think about incorporating some short breaks and doing some stretching, maybe a bit of Tai Chi. What about doing some few yoga moves? It doesn't have to be a 1-hour yoga class. It could be 10 minutes of yoga, or maybe incorporating some deep breathing. I talk about that a lot with clients because it's very stress relieving, but even deep breathing is moving a little bit of the body, and you could do that standing. It doesn't have to be done sitting down. Use a few minutes to tidy your room. You know, we may want to be cleaning or tidying and think about that being a weekly activity. And rather than it being a weekly activity, maybe we just think, right, I'm just going to get up, do a little bit of ironing. I'm going to do a little bit of tidying, rather than thinking about doing it all in one go. Break it up into short spells of time. So they're my ideas for this, and I think it's important to understand, I'm not saying don't do any conventional types of exercise. I think there is a role and a need to do different types of exercise, like I mentioned, yoga, strength, particularly for women as they get older, and for men too. It's really important to do some weight-bearing exercise. But it's really important to think about this movement so we're not sitting all day long without getting up moving on a regular time scales. So there's one quote I'd just like you to remember, and it's that you cannot offset 10 hours of sedentary behavior with 1 hour of intensive exercise. So I'd like you to go away and just try and think about how you could incorporate more movement into your day-to-day life, breaking it up into short periods of time, ideally on an hourly basis, and just getting up and moving. Get that blood flow moving around your body, get more oxygen into your lungs, still do your other exercise as well. But it's all about the movement and not just about the exercise. So I hope you found that useful. Do remember you can catch up on all my other lives on my YouTube channel, Peyton Principles Natural Health. And if you enjoy my lives, do invite other people to come and join my group. As you know, I do deliver these every week, as well as giving other advice throughout the week as well. So enjoy this fantastic weather if you're watching this live or watching it soon on Catch Up. And I'll see you all next week. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.